everybody, welcome to What's in My Camera Bag Portugal edition. Today we're going to go through all the cameras I brought with me on my trip to Portugal and talk about why I brought each one. And I'm getting ready to go to the Taylor Swift Eras tour today and I'm super excited. This is my Taylor outfit and my friendship bracelets, and so yeah, stay tuned. Number one, we have the Canon PowerShot G7X Mark II. This is a point and shoot Canon camera with a zoom lens. It's pretty fun, it zooms in really far, but I brought this to replace my giant Canon 5D Mark IV with my giant zoom lens. It weighs 1,000,000 pounds, it's huge. Lugging it around Europe is a nightmare, and I just recently had surgery, so I'm still kind of recovering. I didn't want to wear myself down carrying 1,000,000 cameras around. So it was really hard to leave it behind because it's such an amazing camera. But this was kind of my replacement, and I'm testing it out to see if it's a good replacement for the 5D Mark IV just for traveling, because I actually don't end up using my digital camera that much when I'm traveling, just because I have all of these. I like to shoot film, but this does have a manual setting. I've been messing with it a little bit, and I'll show you guys some of the lower light photos I've gotten. And it has a 1.8 lens, which is actually very good for a point and shoot. My mom took this camera with her to Africa, and I was actually pleasantly surprised by the photos. They looked beautiful, especially out in bright sunlight or walking around. And this does get those wide shots I like, and it can get portraits. So I'm excited to see if this is a good replacement. We'll see. Hopefully I don't regret it when I get home not bringing that camera with me, but yes. Number two, of course, I brought my trusty Holga. You guys know I love this camera. I have quite a few videos on this camera, and this is the one camera I will not leave my house without. This is the one typically when I'm just walking around. If I'm only carrying one camera during the daytime, it will be this one. This one always comes with me. And this time, as kind of like a backup Holga, because I kind of had this fear of what if my Holga shutter stops working or something. I decided to bring my Diana F+. I've just started using this more often. It's a little bit trickier to use than the Holga. It's very similar though. I have the square format set up, but it has a lot of fun lens attachments which I've been experimenting with on this trip. And there's a fisheye lens, and I actually like the fisheye lens of the Diana better than the Holga. This has kind of been my fisheye camera basically for this trip. And this is actually a soft telephoto lens I'm trying out. This is a different attachment. And so yeah, it's been kind of fun to experiment, but I'll have to do a video about a full review of this camera because it is trickier, and I'll have to show you guys some of the secrets I use to get good photos with this one. And then for Polaroids, I brought this one. This is very standard Polaroid 600 camera. I am kind of sad I left behind my Polaroid land camera. That's the one camera I'm like, man, I wish I could bring it. But it's super heavy, and I usually only end up shooting maybe 3 or 4 or 5 shots because I don't like to waste the film. But I like to bring it on these trips to Europe because I only have a few boxes of that film left, but maybe next time. So yeah, I brought this one. This is super easy to use. Love this camera. It's basically a point and shoot Polaroid. This is really fun, and I'm going to do a review of this one hopefully on this trip. So yes, that's my one Polaroid. And then this is kind of one of my fun experimental cameras that I brought with me. I've never used this camera. Oops, upside down. This is a Kodak Duoflex camera. It is a 620 film camera from the 1950s-ish, and it's one where you look down in the viewfinder to take a photo and you click the button here. So this is kind of a test. I'm not really sure how the photos are going to turn out, but this is kind of a fun one for me to bring. And it's not that big, so it doesn't take up that much space. And then in terms of 35mm, this was a really difficult decision. Chris sat with me for an hour talking about my 35mm cameras because I didn't know which ones I wanted to bring. But as you guys know, if you've seen my recent videos, the Minolta Maxim STSI has become my go-to travel camera. Chris was saying I should leave this behind because he's you don't need the panorama mode, you don't need all this stuff, but this one has a zoom lens, and zoom lenses are very important to me when I'm traveling because I like to get really wide cityscapes and landscapes, and it has the panorama mode, and it does double exposures, and it has a pop-up flash. This is the closest to perfection I've found in a 35mm camera. The only thing I would like more maybe is like a little bit sharper lens, although this is still relatively sharp. But yeah, I love this camera, and I'm just gonna have to take with me on all my trips. It's kind of heavy, not super heavy, but a little heavy. And then this camera, this one I was like iffy about bringing, but I actually am really glad that I brought it because this is my best 35mm camera. This is my sharpest and my most expensive. So this is the Nikon FE2, and this has a 1.4 lens, so it's a very good lens, very sharp, lets in a lot of light, good and low light. It's a 50mm lens, so it's better for like portraits and kind of like more dreamier shots. I can't get the wide shots, the cityscapes, stuff like that. So this is really more of like a portrait-y lens, more like surreal type photos. I'll have to share with you some of the ones I've taken, but this is like a really good camera. It does double exposures, but it does not have a flash. It's also manual focus, so this I have to really sit and like take my time to compose the shot, and that's kind of a pain in the butt. But the photos are beautiful with this camera. I love the photos, and I'm very excited about seeing this. Plus it's trusty. I know it works because I brought quite a few that I'm like, I hope they work and hope they turn out. Last but not least, this is the Minolta hi-matic AF2. I've never shot with this camera before. When I was planning for this trip, I was going through all of the cameras in my house. I was like, I want to bring some ones I've never used before and do some different reviews. And this one was like in the very bottom of a box of cameras I found at a yard sale one time. When I was first messing with it, the shutter was not working. It was like stuck, and I had to open it up and kind of like touch the shutter, which I probably shouldn't do this with my finger, but I did. Like the little shutter clasp thing was closed. The battery was completely corroded, so I had to take little Q-tips and like alcohol and scrub it really good. And then finally the shutter started going, but it was like intermittent, but I just kept looking. I clicked it probably like 200 times. It finally started going enough that I was like, okay, I trust to put a roll of film in. So I've actually shot 1.5 rolls of film now, and the shutter hasn't got stuck yet. So that's very good news. So hopefully these photos turn out. I'm really excited to see, because this is a 2.8 lens, which is very good for a point and shoot camera. I'm very excited because this is also Minolta, and I think I'm starting to like Minoltas. So yeah, and then over here, of course, I have all of my trusty tools. There's a lot of like lens adapters and connectors and things like that, just for me to experiment with on the strip. And all my little filters and things. I don't want to give all my secrets as usual. But yeah, Diana flash. This I don't use very often, but I like to bring it. And so yeah, that's my collection for this trip. We have to actually go like immediately right now to see Taylor Swift, because I have to pick up my merch and stuff like that. And so hopefully I can get some video on my phone and show you guys like a 2-second clip from Taylor. I don't know, but I'm super excited. And now we're gonna go because we're running late. So thanks so much for tuning in. Make sure to like and subscribe. Check out my Patreon if you want to see more photos that I don't show anywhere else. And I wrote a book, and I just released it recently, and I brought a few copies with me to like leave randomly around Portugal. So check that out. It's called Temporary Beauty on Amazon. Oh yeah, and you can follow me on Instagram at MilesCatherine, at The Traveling Holga, or at Cameras and Cats. And we really have to go. So let's go.